morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to look at the official Darkness Ablaze FAQ. And of course, massive shout out to the lovely folks over at Pokegym.net. This is an official FAQ with official rulings, but it is brought to us by the lovely folks over at Pokegym.net. So shout out to them for being awesome and bringing this to us. So starting off, having a look at abilities then, we've got Crobat's Dark Asset ability. That's the one that lets you draw until you've got 6 cards in your hand, i.e. it is the same as Shaymin's old ability. And the question we need to consider here is, if I play Crobat V, and then use Super Scoop Up to bring it back to my hand, can I play the same Crobat V again? Remember, Crobat V, you can only use one of the abilities per turn. And the answer is no. You can only use one Crobat ability per turn, and unfortunately, even if it's the same Crobat that has been Super Scoop Upped into your hand, you still cannot use that ability again. Once per turn, pretty hard rule. Now, Rhyperior V has the attack drill run that says your opponent discards an energy attached to their active Pokemon, and you do 80 damage. But coming in the same set, we have the new Darkrai, which has got the ability that says that as long as there is a Darkness energy attached to it, it takes 20 less damage from attacks. So the question is then, if Rhyperior attacks Darkrai, is the damage reduced? Yes. Unfortunately, if you're the Rhyperior player, the damage reduction happens first, then you do the damage, then you discard the energy, and unfortunately, the energy is not discarded until after the damage is done. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry. Now, Eternatus has the ability Eternal Zone that allows you to have 8 bench Pokemon, but only if all the Pokemon that you've got in play are Darkness type. And then it says you can't put non-Darkness Pokemon in play. Okay. What if you've only got 2 Darkness Pokemon on the bench, i.e. you haven't filled up your regular bench of 5, but you've got Eternatus VMAX? Can you play a non-Darkness Pokemon onto your bench? No. No, you cannot. It's not just if you want the extra bench space, it's very much a 2-part ability. Part number 1, if all your Pokemon are in play, you can have up to 8 Pokemon on your bench. Part number 2, you cannot put non-Darkness Pokemon into play. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, no matter how many bench Pokemon you've got. As a side note, this would also include things that would put non-Darkness Pokemon directly into play, not just from your hand. So something like Giratina, for instance, which can be benched from the discard pile using its ability, could not be done while Eternatus' ability is on the board. If I've got 8 Darkness Pokemon in play, including a Weavile, Darkness Pokemon, and I use something like a Devolution Spray Z to devolve it into a Water-type Sneasel, what happens? And the answer is, you need to discard until you've got only 5 bench Pokemon, because you lose the extra, because the ability stopped working. Well, can I just discard Sneasel and then keep the rest of my bench Pokemon? Because as soon as I discard Sneasel, I no longer have no non-Darkness Pokemon on the bench. No. Once you begin to discard down to 5, you've got to discard down to 5. Essentially, you're discarding down to 5, you're not discarding one at a time until you get to 5. So you've got to do the whole discard, even after you've gotten rid of the Sneasel. Okay. Can I use Giratina's ability, so that's the one that lets you just pop it straight onto the bench? Can I use this ability, pop it on the bench, do the damage, but then discard it because it's not a Darkness Pokemon? No. You're not even allowed to use Giratina's ability, because using Giratina's ability would be putting it onto the bench, which would be playing a non-Darkness Pokemon onto the bench, and you're not allowed to play a non-Darkness Pokemon onto the bench, so don't. Primal Law. Now this is Dracovish's kind of awesome ability, whereby when it is in the active, your opponent cannot play cards from their hand to evolve their Pokemon. Can I still use the new card Pokemon Breeders Nurturing when my opponent's got a Dracovish in the active? And the answer is yes. Now this is the one that lets you evolve 2 Pokemon in play by searching the deck for cards that evolve from them. Very nice card if you want to evolve multiple Pokemon. The difference here is you're not playing a Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, which is what Dracovish stops. You are essentially playing it from the deck, and Dracovish stops you evolving from your hand. It does not stop you evolving from your deck, i.e. you can use other ways of evolving when Dracovish is in the active, just not naturally playing them from your hand. Assault Gate. Now this is Hooper's attack that does 90 damage for a single energy, but if you were not on the bench and became active this turn, the attack does nothing. What if one of your Pokemon gets KO'd, and you bring up Hooper to replace the KO'd Pokemon? Do you still get to do damage? No. Because you've not brought it active during your turn, you've brought it active during your opponent's turn. We saw this same ruling with the Zapdos from Team Up that did 10 damage but 90 if it became active this turn. We saw the same ruling with Golisopod GX that did 30 damage but 120 if it became active this turn. Between turns, or really during your opponent's turn when it got KO'd, doesn't count. Similarly, if you get KO'd by poison between turns or whatever, no. It's got to be during your turn. So we're getting a STEENEE in the set, and STEENEE's got the attack Captivate. And what this does is it allows you to swap your opponent's active Pokemon with one of their bench Pokemon. Okay. Well, what if Spikemuth Stadium is in play? That is a new stadium that basically says, when a Pokemon returns to the bench, during your turn, it takes 2 damage counters. Does that mean that STEENEE can move it and then force it to take the damage counters? And the answer is no. Because it was not that player's turn when the Pokemon got moved. Spikemuth says whenever a Pokemon returns to the bench during that player's turn, put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. But this was during the other player's turn, so the damage is not put on there. Now, DELCATTY's got a lovely little attack, Captivating Tail, that for a single energy switches one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active. And then the new one is Confused. Can you see where the ruling's going here? It's actually not about Spikemuth, though that ruling would apply. What if they have no bench Pokemon? Can you confuse them? No. Confusion is applied to the new active Pokemon. You've got to bring a Pokemon from the bench to the active in order to confuse it. If you're just attacking into the active with no bench, there's nothing to drag up from the bench, and you cannot confuse the active Pokemon. Now, Center Scorch is one of the very, very best cards in the entire set. It's got the VMAX. It's got that ridiculous attack that for 2 colorless energy does 40 damage base, plus 40 damage for each fire energy on it. And if you deal damage while attacking, you get to attach a fire energy from your discard to it. Do you get the extra 40 damage from the card you attach while you're attacking? Nope. You attack, you calculate the damage, then if you did damage, you get to attach an energy from the discard pile. Firstly, you calculate the damage before you attach the energy. Secondly, you only get to attach if you did damage, and you can't have done damage before dealing damage, or before calculating. That would be very strange, ladies and gentlemen. That would be very strange. Now, Carnivine is one that I did point out as one of the best cards for pre-releases. For a single colorless energy, you do 20 damage, and you may draw until you have 5 cards in your hand. Can I draw fewer cards? Let's say, for argument's sake, I'm facing down a Gengar and Mimikyu that will do more damage for each trainer card in my hand. So let's say if I draw 3 trainers I get knocked out, can I only draw 2 cards to guarantee that won't happen? No. You may or may not draw cards, that's up to you. But if you choose to draw cards, you must draw until you have exactly 5 cards in hand. No more, no less. Now the next one's an interesting one, because this ruling was actually officially made in Japan very, very shortly after the relevant set was released. So we kind of knew that this was coming, because it kind of had to. Now, it's been translated as billowing smoke. We called it smoke stick in Japanese. And what it basically says, it's a Pokemon tool. And when the Pokemon this card is attached to is knocked out by your opponent's Pokemon's attack, the prize is not taken, it is discarded. How does this interact with Jirachi Prism Star? Now remember, Jirachi Prism Star, if it is drawn as a face-down prize card and you got a bench space remaining, you may bench it to take an extra prize. And the answer is, just like we saw in Japan, Jirachi doesn't work. Because it never goes to your hand. You don't take a prize card and then go, oh, it's a Jirachi, and bench it. It gets immediately discarded. And incidentally, in Expanded, you would have the same ruling for a greedy die, for instance. Sorry. Now, Bird Keeper is a new supporter card that's seen a huge amount of play from this set. It's basically a switch that lets you draw 3 cards. Well, what happens if I don't have any bench Pokemon? You don't draw 3 cards. The way it works is you switch, and then you draw 3 cards. No switch, no draw. And if you don't have any bench Pokemon, you cannot switch, therefore you're not even allowed to play the card. Gutted. And finally, a couple quick rulings about the new energy card. Hiding Energy, this is the new Darkness Energy, which is basically just Darkness Energy coupled with a Float Stone. It gives a Darkness Pokemon to which it is attached free retreat. Question is, what if Galamine's in play? So what? You see, Galamine increases your retreat cost by 2. But Hiding Energy just gives you a retreat cost of 0. So, if your retreat cost is 4, Hiding Energy brings it down to 0. If Galamine would bring it up to 6, it doesn't matter, your retreat cost is 0. We saw a similar thing with Floatstone back in the day. Anything that increases your retreat cost is irrelevant when you've got a card that just gives you free retreat. And finally, Powerful Colorless Energy, the colorless version of Strong Energy. Though, do remember that Strong Energy could only be attached to a fighting Pokemon. Powerful Colorless Energy can be attached to anyone, but it only lets you do an extra 20 damage if it's attached to a colorless Pokemon. Does it stack? Yes. Why would it not, ladies and gentlemen? Why would it not? And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you need to know. Those are the new rulings. That's what's important. And remember, if you're going to be playing with these cards, you're going to need to know those rulings. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think about all of them, if any of them are confusing, if you've got any more information you'd like to know. So let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, or you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.